Okay, let's dive into this explainer. Look, if you're gearing up for the UCAT, you already know the decision-making section can feel like, well, an absolute minefield, right? It's not just testing your math or reading skills, it's testing your raw, under-pressure logic. But honestly, here's the good news. It's actually a highly predictable, highly beatable section if you've got the right strategies. So today, we're taking you from a stressed test taker to a tactical master with some essential UCAT decision-making tips and our ultimate playbook for completely conquering this section.
But first, we really need to address the elephant in the room, the clock. Take a look at this number, 63. You're facing 35 questions in exactly 37 minutes. When you actually do the math on that, it means you have roughly 63 seconds per question. 63 seconds to read, analyze, calculate, and click. That's barely enough time to microwave your coffee, let alone solve a multi-layered logic puzzle. That harsh reality literally dictates everything about how we approach this test. You just can't afford to get bogged down. You absolutely need systems. And that's exactly what we're going to build today. Here is our 5-step roadmap to get you there. First, we'll map out the decision-making landscape. Second, mastering strongest arguments. Third, cracking probability and risk. Fourth, visualizing data and diagrams. And finally, number 5, essential time-saving shortcuts. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The decision-making landscape. Before stepping onto the battlefield, you got to know exactly what you're up against.
So, the UCAT is going to throw 6 distinct question types at you. We're talking logical puzzles, syllogisms, interpreting information, recognizing assumptions, Venn diagrams, and probabilistic reasoning. You'll face a mix of all these. But here is the absolute golden rule that applies to the whole shebang. There is 0 negative marking. A wrong answer scores exactly the same as a blank answer, which is 0. So, if your 63 seconds are up, make an educated guess and just move on. Never, ever leave a blank answer.
So the crucial point is knowing your target. 628. That was the actual average score for this section in the 2025 test cycle, out of a scale that ranges from 300 to 900. Because this score sits so incredibly close to the overall cognitive average, pushing your decision-making score up into the 700 range is hands down one of the most effective ways to aggressively boost your overall total and outshine the competition. Beating 628? That is your baseline goal.
Which brings us to Section 2, Mastering Strongest Arguments. This is our first major tactical framework, and for these specific questions, you really want to aim to solve them in just 30 seconds.
Wait, how do you actually do it that fast? Well, you use the REF method. This is going to be your concrete mental model. R stands for relevance. Does the answer address all aspects of the original question, or does it kind of shift the scope? E stands for evidence. Does it include actual facts or statistics? And F is for factuality. Is it based on objective reality rather than just someone's personal opinion? Like if an answer claims a medical treatment is, probably the best, but gives 0 data, it totally fails the factuality test. If an argument doesn't pass the REF test, it is not the strongest argument.
It's simple, really. Strong arguments are objective, they cite evidence, and they have a direct link to the conclusion. Weak arguments, they rely on assumptions. When you're scanning through those answers, you want to instantly reject anything that uses fluffy, subjective words. These words are literally put there to trick you. If you see the word might, which obviously suggests uncertainty, or the word feel, which points to subjective opinion, just cross it out immediately. Don't fall for the trap. Hunt for that objective, direct hit.
Okay, let's move on to Section 3, Cracking Probability and Risk. Now, doctors evaluate risk every single day, so this is a super vital skill for both the exam and your future career.
And this brilliantly illustrates the 2 fundamental rules you absolutely must memorize if you want to move quickly. First, the AND rule means you multiply. If you need event A and event B to happen, like, say, flipping a heads and rolling a 6, you just multiply their probabilities. The OR rule, on the other hand, means you add. If you need event A or event B to happen, add them together. Just keep in mind, if they can both happen at the very same time, you have to subtract that overlapping probability so you don't accidentally double count it.
But you've also got to watch out for the test maker's favorite trap, telling the difference between independent and dependent events. If a question says you draw a marble from a bag with replacement, the probabilities just reset every single time, right? Those are independent events. But the second you see the keywords without replacement, alarm bells should be ringing in your head. That means the events are dependent. The pool depletes, the denominator in your fraction gets smaller, and the math completely changes for the second draw. Always be hunting for those keywords.
Now get ready for an absolute magic trick, and honestly, perhaps one of the best UCAT decision-making tips for the math portion.
When a super wordy question asks you for the probability of at least one event happening, say at least 1 out of 4 patients responding to a treatment, do not try to calculate every single positive combination. It will literally take way too long. Instead, use the complement rule. Just find the probability that none of them respond and subtract that number from 1. 1 minus the probability of none. It gives you the exact same answer in a fraction of the time. It's a total lifesaver.
Moving right along, let's talk about Section 4, Visualizing Data and Diagrams. Make sure you use the provided whiteboard to physically map things out and avoid mental overload.
This applies perfectly to translating text into Venn diagrams. The visual rules are pretty straightforward. If the text says all A are B, draw circle A entirely inside circle B. No A are B, just draw 2 separate circles with 0 overlap. Some A are B, that's your classic overlapping middle region. But listen to this crucial warning, okay? Do not assume that all sections of a Venn diagram must be filled. Actually, scratch that, let me be even clearer. If the text doesn't explicitly mention a section, do not draw it in. You have to stick strictly to the facts provided.
Finally, we reach Section 5, Essential Time-Saving Shortcuts. I promised you some rapid-fire mechanical advantages, literal cheat codes to shave precious seconds off your time, and here they are.
First things first, get your hand off the mouse for basic navigation. Memorize these right now. Alt plus N goes to the next question. Alt plus P goes to the previous question. But without a doubt, the most important one is Alt plus F, which flags a question for later. Think of this as a strategic military retreat. Remember those 63 seconds we talked about? Well, if you hit a massive, multi-step logic puzzle and you just know it's going to take longer than a minute, avoid the sunk cost fallacy. Hit Alt F and move on. Secure the easy marks first, and then come back to the flagged ones at the very end. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this massive calculator hack. Yes, Alt plus C instantly opens the on-screen calculator, but just opening it quickly isn't enough. The real speed is gained by strictly using your physical keyboard's number pad to do the math, rather than slowly, painstakingly clicking the on-screen buttons with your mouse. Oh, and also remember to use the backspace key on your keyboard. It acts as the ON/clear button. Building this physical muscle memory will literally save you minutes over the whole exam.
And here is the absolute ultimate cheat code for multiple choice. You can completely bypass the mouse for selecting answers. If you think the answer is B, just hit Alt plus B on your keyboard, and boom, it selects it instantly. If you're practicing on a Mac, you'll generally use Option plus the letter instead. Pair this with Alt plus N to move to the next screen, and you are literally flying through the test. Just note that drag and drop questions still require the mouse, for sure, but for standard multiple choice, the keyboard is king.
So we've covered the landscape, the arguments, the probabilities, the diagrams, and the shortcuts. The strategies are right here on the table for you. So the final question is this: will you let that 63-second clock beat you, or will you take control? Take these rules, jump into your practice banks, start using those keyboard shortcuts today, and turn this intimidating test into a highly beatable game. You've got this. Now go outsmart them.